Hello, hello, hello. TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. So today I'm going to take you through 5 decks that are currently running the meta in Marvel Snap, and we're going to hop right into it. First up, I think we know, she's got a nerf coming, but until she does, Shuri is going to have a big say in this meta. She's just such a strong card that decks are going to be built around her, and she's going to be put in any type of deck that she'll fit. Pretty standard Shuri list here. I run mine a little bit different because I really enjoy Atuma and some of the other synergy he's got here, but we'll run through this deck real quick for y'all. So we've got Sunspot. Sunspot is great. Best one drop in the game. Obviously, a little bit weaker after his little adjustment, but still a great card, and definitely an inclusion in pretty much any deck you need a solid one drop. We've also got Zero because we've got nice targets in Titania, Lizard, Red Skull, and even Atuma, like I just mentioned. We've got Titania. We know she's great. A backup option for Shuri as well. Armor is your protector for whatever big that you can get down, whether it's Red Skull or maybe it's She-Hulk, something like that. Lizard is a great 2-drop, 2/5. Tons of power, definitely puts on pressure and forces your opponent to either commit or pretty much give you a really nice head start in another lane. We've got Cosmo, again, another protector for our big cards, for our Red Skulls, for our She-Hulks, things like that. I've been playing a lot of Polaris, and I feel she is a little bit underrated, and her ability to kind of manipulate your opponent's side of the board is super strong. So I feel she's a great inclusion in this deck, kind of filling some of the spaces that they wouldn't want filled. Feels great. Shuri herself, the deck is built around her. Like we said, she is just far too strong not to include in most decks, and I mean, we can see it. Her deck is one of the best in the meta right now. Now, like I said, I included Atuma in here, and I do for a couple reasons. He's got nice synergy with Zero and armor. But in those rare cases where you don't hit Shuri, being able to drop Atuma on 4, whether it's zeroed out or played on the armor, just feels really nice. 10 power is a lot. Still a solid target for Taskmaster, allowing you to go 0 Red Skull on 6, something like that. Atuma is also a pretty good target for Shuri himself. So you could play Atuma right onto that armor lane on 5. And then on 6, you could still go Taskmaster for a solid 20 if Atuma's been hit by Shuri. So I just feel like it's a pretty natural inclusion. It kind of evens out your curve a little bit, and to me, just feels a little bit stronger. We know what Taskmaster does. He's copying one of the big cards here, whether it's Red Skull or She-Hulk. We kind of know how that works, and this deck it's still phenomenal. It's still really good. I'm not quite sure how it's going to look. Given that Shuri's going to be changed, I'm really a little bit frightened for what that is going to look like. They have kind of stayed away from completely changing a card. Mostly it's been minor tweaks and things like that, so I'm hoping that's kind of the route they go here. Maybe it's just a straight buff of +8 or +7, something like that I could see, but I hope they don't completely destroy her. For now, though, this deck is still one of the best, so definitely give it a shot, but let's hop right into the next one here. All right, and we are on to the next one, and this is a Sarah control deck. I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. Definitely explosive turn 6s, but you can get caught out by the odd leech here and there, and it can be a little bit tougher to kind of go after some of those decks if you don't have the right tools taking care of. Those Shuri decks can be a little bit difficult, but we'll run through these cards real quickly here. Nova's great. I love getting Nova down on 1 if possible, and then we're looking at 4 2-drops. But typically, there's only 2 that I want to play early, and that's going to be Angela or Lizard. Getting those down early just feels great. We're saving Hitmonkey and Mysterio for later in the game so we can get a little bit more value out of Hitmonkey, as he's going to be a nice source of power for us. We know what Mysterio does, putting his illusions at the other locations, and he's got great synergy with Hitmonkey and with Bishop as well. So very solid inclusion. We kind of talked about Lizard with the Shuri decks, but kind of does the same thing here. Early power forces your opponent to either commit to it or, give you a nice head start. Bishop, just a standard inclusion in this deck. He feels great. Putting Bishop on top of Angela feels like you've already won that lane by turn 3, even though you've only got 2 cards down. So super, super strong. We've got Killmonger here to destroy our Nova, but also to kind of take out some of those pesky, I've been running into Patriot style decks, a lot of Thanos decks, and he can definitely come in handy there. Next up, we've got Polaris. I kind of talked about her a little bit with the Shuri deck, but I include her in this one because 3/5 is that's a really nice amount of power for 3 energy, and being able to manipulate their side of the board, I love that. It gives me an opportunity to make plays that otherwise you wouldn't have. We've got Maximus here as well, another nice source of power. I hesitate to play him too early. Typically, he's a turn 6 drop for me, unless they've got a Cosmo out or something like that where I can take advantage of it and not give them the extra cards. Otherwise, Maximus is staying until turn 6. And then the next 2 cards are answers to other decks. So we've got Shang-Chi, hopefully to take care of some of those Shuris, and then Enchantress, who has been kind of sneaky good for me. I haven't played a ton with her, but I think she's got a nice little spot in this deck where she feels really, really nice. Whether it's canceling out Patriots or canceling out armor so that you can then Shang-Chi, she definitely has her uses, and I found her to be a very, very solid inclusion. And then, of course, we got Sarah for the discounts, enabling those big turn 6 dumps. Like I said, Leech really, really destroys this deck because typically you're not playing too much early on, but I feel like overall it's really, really strong and super fun to play. Those explosive turn 6s are insane. So definitely a good one to give a shot, but let's get into the next one here. All right, and we are at the next one here, and we've got an Electro and Sandman deck. Pretty standard list here. I do know some people are running, Ebony Maw, something like that. I prefer to just go with Sunspot so that it limits my potential bad pulls from Jubilee. So we've got Sunspot. We know what he does there. We've got our Sunspot Protector in armor. And then we've got Electro. He's enabling this deck, allowing you to get those 5 drops down early. And we've got a few of them that we, would love to hit. We've got Jubilee because most of our cards are going to be big pulls, and pulling pretty much everything feels pretty good. Maybe outside of Sunspot and armor and probably Electro, but anything to the right of Jubilee just feels really, really nice. And then the 5 drops you're hoping to hit, of course, Sandman, if you've got Dr. Doom in hand, feels amazing. Odin on top of Dr. Doom, game winning. We've got Leech to kind of mess up any of their plays. Feels great when you're going against, like that Sarah deck. And maybe you haven't hit Electro. Leech coming through, messing up their turn 6 is huge. I've got Vision in here included because I like his ability to move around the board and reach those lanes that otherwise we might have a tough time reaching, if we don't hit Dr. Doom. Now, we all know Dr. Doom's role in this. He's providing, 15 power first dropped and then another 10 the initial turn, as long as he's hit by his buddy Odin. And that, is definitely a game-winning line there, going Electro, Sandman, Doom, Odin. We've got Chavez for more consistent draw. She-Hulk in here. Now, I will say, I've had a little bit mixed results of She-Hulk. It feels tough getting her out. Turn 4... she can't be played before turn 4, right? Unless you get extra energy from somewhere. And if turn 4 comes around, I'd rather, I feel like I'd almost rather play Jubilee, or maybe, if I then pick Electro up, I'd rather play Electro. So sometimes She-Hulk has felt a little bit awkward in my hand, but still a really, really nice card and a good inclusion. But she is one I am considering replacing. I'm not sure with what yet, but she's a really, really good card, so I can see why she's included. And then, of course, Magneto. Magneto's great. Again, gives you the opportunity to make plays you otherwise wouldn't be able to play. And, 6/12 just coming down on turn 6 feels pretty good most of the time. So, pretty standard Sandman and, Electro deck. Definitely has a nice spot in the meta with, all the hit monkeys coming out. Like I said, I've been seeing a lot of Patriots, a lot of Thanos, and Sandman slowing them down definitely is a good thing. So this is a really, really strong deck right now, and I've had a ton of success with it, so definitely give this one a shot for sure. But let's hop right into the next one. All right, and we are hopping into the next one. And as you can see, it's a Darkhawk Devil Dino deck. Now, I love Darkhawk and Devil Dino, and I've had a ton of success with this list in particular. It's pretty standard, but I do have one inclusion that makes it a little bit different. So we'll just run through these real quick. We've got Korg, you know, he's empowering our Darkhawk. I play Quinjet in mine because I like to play Moon Girl as well. And I play her for a couple of reasons, but we'll get to that in a second. Quinjet is great on the discounts on your Sentinels, on whatever agents Coulson's giving you, and what Moon Girl is giving you as well. We've got Zabu to allow us to get some of these 4-drops out early. Playing, you know, a Rock Slide on 3 or Moon Girl on 3 can feel really, really nice. Sentinel, pretty consistent power, and if you've got Quinjet down, playing 1-3 every turn feels pretty good. Now, you might not play it every turn, but you've got the option to. We've got Mystique here, and she's been great because she can copy either your Darkhawk or your Devil Dino, and kind of enables you to play, you know, maybe a little bit better turn 6 in most cases. I've found a lot of the times I've been playing Mystique on top of maybe a Darkhawk, Korg Sentinel, or Mystique, and then a Agent Coulson, with Mystique copying either Devil Dino or Darkhawk in those cases, and it feels really, really strong. Being able to drop Mystique to copy Devil Dino and then refill your hand a little bit with Agent Coulson feels great. Now the inclusion that I think makes a ton of sense. I haven't seen too many people running it, but I'm not sure why they aren't, and that's Storm. Storm, we feel like we just have a ton of natural complements to her, right? If we can get anything down on 1 or 2, and then we can storm that lane, knowing we've got Darkhawk in our hand, or Moon Girl, or Rock Slide playing right onto that storm lane, you just feel really, really good. Maybe you don't fill it up completely, you can still hit them with a Dr. Doom. So I think Storm is a pretty natural inclusion in this deck, and can definitely feel pretty game-winning. It allows you to take a little bit of control on locations as well, and I think that's definitely a valuable part of what she provides. We talked a little bit about Agent Coulson refilling our hands. You're also getting a 4 and 5 cost. Maybe you find some value there, maybe not. I've definitely been surprised once or twice, but just a really solid 3-drop to have. Darkhawk, we know what he's bringing to the table. He is power, and being able to play Darkhawk or Devil Dino in this case, as those are our 2 big power cards, feels great. You know, being able to get Rock Slides down or make sure our hand is full. You know, you've got options here, and that's what it's really about. It's about finding a way to beat your opponent, and the more options, the better. I talked a little bit about Moon Girl, but I like her for the fact that she allows me to kind of go in on a potential, you know, turn 6, something like that. Maybe I'm duplicating Darkhawk, Zabu's already down, and I can play 2 Darkhawks on 6 for just a huge power dump, split them up, feels great. Maybe I'm hitting a Devil Dino himself, and I go Dino on 5 and Dino on 6. I just think Moon Girl is a really nice inclusion, so that is why I am running her in this deck. Then, of course, we've got Rock Slide. He's enabling our Darkhawk. Devil Dino, we talked a little bit about in, you know, him being another source of power, complement to Darkhawk, depending on which way you're going to be playing. And then you've got Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is awesome. He allows you to reach that storm lane. He allows you to spread out your power on turn 6. And this deck, you can kind of compete in most lanes depending on what you're doing. You know, you could go Darkhawk on 4, Devil Dino on 5, Dr. Doom on 6, and, you know, you could split all those up and be competing in every single lane. So I think this is a really, really solid list. I definitely, it feels like one of the best Devil Dino Darkhawk lists that I've played so far. So I would encourage you all to give this one a shot as well. But we do have one more, and we're going to get into that one right now. All right, we made it to our last one, and it's a Patriot style deck. I'm typically not a huge fan of Patriot. I just think his decks weren't very interactive, but this one is different, right? We've got our standard Patriot cards. We've got Patriot. We've got Mystique to copy. We've got Squirrel Girl and Misty Knight and Wasp and even the Thing, right? So we've got pretty much our standard Patriot cards. Ultron, you could probably throw him in there as pretty standard as well. And then we've got our other inclusions, right? So we'll get to those, but we'll run through them quick. 0-1 Wasp, great to dump on 6 with Ultron, filling that lane that otherwise wouldn't be filled. Squirrel Girl, giving you those squirrels that are going to be buffed by your Patriot and hopefully by Blue Marvel as well. Misty Knight, a solid 1-drop, no ability, allowing her to be powered up by Patriot and Mystique. And we know what they do, right? They're going to give us our power, Patriot. Hopefully you're copying Patriot with Mystique. You can also copy Blue Marvel with Mystique. It feels a little bit more awkward, typically because you're playing Marvel on 5. So Mystique would come down on 6, meaning you got to fill that other 3 energy. Maybe it's then Debris. If it's Patriot, why wouldn't you just copy Patriot with Mystique? Copy Patriot with Mystique. So a little bit, could be a little bit awkward if you're trying to copy Blue Marvel, but definitely an inclusion that you need. Patriot's enabling our deck. We know that. Debris is great. Manipulating your opponent's side of the board, I think, is a very, very underrated facet of the game. Just playing your own cards and hoping your own thing does the job is great. But I like to have a little bit more control than that and kind of influence the way that they play as well. And throwing rocks onto their side, maybe filling a lane that they didn't want to fill yet, or messing up a Galactus just feels great. Another card that I include here is Shang-Chi. And that's because I love to have answers to some of those bigger decks. Handling Shuri with Patriot can be a little bit tough. Shang-Chi gives me the option to do that. Now, it's a little bit tough, right? Because he's a 4-drop, so at the latest, if you're going to handle like a Shuri deck, you want to play him on 5. So you can do that because your turn 6 is typically going to be something a little bit more powerful than just Shang-Chi, because you need to make sure you've got enough cards out there to get, that are going to be powered up by your Patriot and Mystique or Blue Marvel, whatever it may be. So typically you got to play him on 4 or 5. So could be a little bit awkward, but I love having answers to, my opponents. We've got the Thing in there, no ability, pretty standard inclusion in Patriot style decks. Blue Marvel is going to be powering everything up. And then another inclusion here is Leech. Leech is great because it'll handle some of those Sarah decks, and it gives you another turn 5 play that can feel really, really impactful. So right now, the way I see it is this deck's got 3, maybe 4 really solid turn 5 plays. Hopefully you're getting Blue Marvel down. You've got Leech as an option. Shang-Chi with, maybe a Squirrel Girl or a Misty Knight also feels pretty good on turn 5. Turn 6, we know what's happening, right? We've got Ultron ideally getting him down, filling the board with those drones, and them being powered up. But we also have another turn 6 option, and that is Dr. Doom. We've seen him in a couple decks right now, and I feel like he is in a really nice spot in the meta. So I think a really, really solid inclusion as well. And this deck is rounding off the 5 decks that are kind of controlling the meta and really setting the pace right now. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Have you played any of these? Are there any cards that you would change out in any of the decks? If so, what would they be? If you've made it this far, it's also a good time to go ahead and hit that like button. Hit subscribe as well if you aren't, as it really does help me out. But until next time, remember, have some fun.